Jean-Claude Van Damme's story is one of the most dramatic and unpredictable journeys in Hollywood. Behind the fame, money, and martial arts mastery was a man who fell into deep addiction, battled mental illness, and fought to rebuild his life again and again. He once admitted that he became addicted to sleeping pills, and for years, he lived like there were no rules at all. During his peak, he was spending around $10,000 every week on cocaine. Directors had to hire people just to track him down because he would disappear for days, skip filming, and return completely out of control. His hallucinations made it almost impossible for him to work properly. The drugs didn't just destroy his $100 million career, they nearly ended his life. In 1998, when things became unbearable, Jean-Claude attempted suicide. Doctors later diagnosed him with rapid cycling bipolar disorder. After he got clean, he thought his worst days were behind him, but in April 2025, he found himself in serious trouble again when Romanian prosecutors accused him of trafficking, threatening to destroy everything he had rebuilt. Jean-Claude Camille François van Varenberg was born on October 18, 1960, in a small area of Brussels called Berchem-Saint-Agathe. His father, Eugene, was both an accountant and a florist, while his mother, Eleonore, was of Flemish descent. She spoke Dutch, and his father spoke French, making their home bilingual, which later helped Jean-Claude when he became a global celebrity. He had one sister named Veronique, and they grew up in a quiet, working-class neighborhood. His parents valued discipline and hard work, but Jean-Claude wasn't a strong or confident child. He was thin, wore thick glasses, and often got bullied at school for being shy and small. He preferred reading comic books to playing sports, and other kids mocked him for it. He later said those early years were painful and that he felt completely powerless. His father eventually decided that something needed to change. When Jean-Claude turned 11, his father encouraged him to start lifting weights so he could become stronger and defend himself. The gym quickly became his escape from all the teasing. He trained every day with complete focus, promising himself he would never let anyone bully him again. A year later, his father signed him up for karate lessons at the Centre National de Karate in Ixelles, Brussels. His coach, Claude Getz, was a strict and demanding teacher. From 1972 to 1976, Jean-Claude trained daily, often through injuries and exhaustion. He broke his nose more than once during sparring sessions, but he never quit. His flexibility, speed, and precision improved so much that by age 16, he earned a spot on Belgium's national karate team, a major accomplishment for someone who once struggled just to stand up for himself. Around the same time, Jean-Claude did something few people knew about. He secretly began taking ballet lessons. He trained 5 days a week, from age 16 to 21, believing ballet would help his balance, coordination, and control. He later said ballet was the hardest training he ever did, even tougher than karate, because it required perfect discipline. He never told his karate friends because he knew they would tease him, but ballet became one of his greatest strengths. It gave him the flexibility and grace that made his movie fight scenes legendary, especially his famous splits. Jean-Claude's first real karate competition took place when he was 15 in 1975. Between 1976 and 1980, he won 44 semi-contact matches and lost only 4. In one early fight, after being hit hard with a roundhouse kick, he came back seconds later with a knockout of his own. That moment showed how determined he was to win no matter what. In December 1979, he helped Belgium's national karate team win a major European tournament. Then, on March 8, 1980, he faced Patrick Tugels, a fighter who had beaten him twice before. During that match, Jean-Claude broke his hand but refused to stop fighting. He delivered a powerful kick that broke Tugels' nose and won by technical knockout. Even though he needed surgery afterward, that fight proved he had the heart of a true champion. At just 19, he became the European Professional Karate Association's middleweight champion. He reportedly had 18 knockouts and only 1 loss in full-contact fights. Some critics claimed the numbers were exaggerated, but everyone agreed that he was a gifted and fearless fighter. At 20, he opened his own gym in Brussels called the California Gym, which stood next to a cemetery. He hoped it would bring him success, but it barely made any money. To survive, he took whatever jobs he could find: pizza delivery, carpet laying, modeling, and even cleaning apartments. He sometimes slept inside his gym because he couldn't afford rent. He ate leftovers from restaurants and occasionally stole food just to keep going. Despite these struggles, he never gave up on his dream of going to America and becoming a star. In 1982, at age 21, he finally made the big leap and flew to Los Angeles. Depending on who you ask, he arrived with either $50, $2,000, or $5,000, but whatever the amount, it wasn't enough to survive comfortably. He didn't speak English, had no acting experience, and didn't know anyone. He lived in his car near Venice Beach, showered in public restrooms, and took small jobs like waiting tables, cleaning apartments, and delivering pizzas. He once got a job as a limo driver and met martial arts star Chuck Norris, who offered him the chance to work as a stuntman. Jean-Claude grabbed that opportunity with both hands. His first appearance in a movie came in 1984's Breakin', where he was briefly shown dancing in the background. It wasn't a speaking role and didn't earn him much, but it was a start. Around this time, he also worked as a bouncer at a bar owned by Chuck Norris. Even when he was broke and hungry, he never stopped training or believing in himself. Eventually, he became Chuck Norris's sparring partner, which helped him gain valuable experience in the movie business. In 1986, he landed his first real role in No Retreat, No Surrender, where he played a brutal Russian fighter. He was paid only $250 for the part, but his performance stood out. He took the fight scenes so seriously that he accidentally hit his co-stars for real, forcing the director to warn him repeatedly to ease up. Jean-Claude wanted to prove that his action scenes were authentic, not fake. That same year, he made one of the boldest moves of his life. While working at a restaurant, he recognized Menachem Golan, a powerful film producer from Cannon Films, who was having dinner there. Jean-Claude walked right up to him, performed a perfect roundhouse kick while holding a bowl of soup, and didn't spill a drop. Golan was so impressed that he invited him for an audition. When Jean-Claude arrived, he waited all day in the lobby before finally being called in. Once inside, he took off his shirt and performed a series of high kicks right over the producer's head. Golan was amazed and threw him a movie script, saying, "Next week in Hong Kong." That script was for Bloodsport. Bloodsport was filmed on a small budget of around $1.50 to $2.30 million, and Jean-Claude did all his own stunts with no safety gear. He performed dangerous kicks, flips, and even splits on kitchen counters. The film was almost released straight to video, but Jean-Claude begged the producers to let him re-edit the fight scenes himself. He spent weeks doing it, and when Bloodsport was finally released in 1988, it became an international sensation, earning around $50 million worldwide. His performance made him a household name overnight. However, his journey to stardom had not been smooth. In 1987, he auditioned for Predator and was cast to play the alien monster wearing a $20,000 costume. The suit was suffocating and made him feel trapped. He fainted twice on set, and when the producers yelled at him, he lost control, ripped off the costume, and threw it on the ground. The producers fired him immediately and replaced him with Kevin Peter Hall, a much taller actor. It was a major setback, but Jean-Claude's persistence kept him moving forward. In 1989, his big break came again with Kickboxer. Released on September 8, it became another massive hit, making around $50 million on a $2.7 million budget. The film played on almost 1,000 screens across the US and ranked third in its opening weekend. It was shot in Thailand, where Jean-Claude trained with real Muay Thai fighters to make the scenes authentic. Kickboxer also introduced Thai martial arts to Hollywood for the first time. One of the film's most memorable scenes showed Jean-Claude dancing drunkenly in a bar before getting into a fierce fight. The mix of humor and intensity made that scene iconic and became one of the most unforgettable moments of his entire career. Behind his success, though, his personal life was spiraling out of control. Fame brought money, but it also brought temptation. The late-night parties, endless pressure, and constant competition pushed him toward drugs. He began using cocaine to cope with the exhaustion of filming and fame. At one point, he admitted to spending $10,000 every week on drugs. Directors couldn't control him, and production schedules fell apart because he would vanish for days at a time. When he did show up, he was paranoid and hallucinating. His once unstoppable career started falling apart rapidly. By the late 1990s, he was broke, divorced multiple times, and completely dependent on drugs. In 1998, overwhelmed by his addiction and depression, he tried to end his life. That dark moment forced him to get medical help. Doctors diagnosed him with rapid cycling bipolar disorder, explaining that his extreme mood swings were part of the illness. Through medication and therapy, he slowly began to recover. 4 years, he stayed away from Hollywood and focused on rebuilding his health. When he finally returned, fans still remembered his incredible martial arts talent and the charisma that made him unique. But in April 2025, just when it seemed his life had stabilized, he was hit with new legal trouble in Romania, accused of trafficking, a charge that could once again ruin everything he had worked for. Jean-Claude Van Damme's story is not just about fame or fighting. It's about survival, transformation, and the endless struggle between self-destruction and redemption. He came from a small neighborhood in Belgium, fought his way through bullying and poverty, conquered Hollywood, lost it all to addiction, and still found a way to keep going. Despite all his mistakes, his story reminds people that even the strongest fighters battle their own inner wars, and sometimes, the hardest fight of all is against yourself. Jean-Claude Van Damme's journey through fame, success, and downfall is one of the most dramatic stories in Hollywood history. His rise began with his powerful martial arts skills and his undeniable screen presence, but behind all the fame and action scenes were years of pain, addiction, and personal battles that almost destroyed him. His story shows how one man went from being an international icon to nearly losing everything, and how he eventually tried to rebuild himself again. His breakout came when he brought Muay Thai to the world stage. That same year, he worked on Cyborg, a movie that became iconic for its rough production and its mix of science fiction and martial arts. It was shot in just 23 days on a budget of less than $500,000. The film's studio, Cannon Films, had already lost a fortune from cancelled He-Man and Spider-Man projects, so director Albert Pune came up with a brand new script in just a single weekend to make use of leftover sets and costumes. Many of the character names came from musical instruments and guitars, like Gibson and Rickenbacker. But the film's production wasn't smooth. During one intense fight scene, Van Damme accidentally struck actor Jackson Rock Pinkney in the eye with a prop knife. The injury was so serious that the studio had to pay nearly $500,000 in a lawsuit. Even though critics didn't love the movie, it earned over $10 million and became a cult hit, starting a small cyberpunk series. By 1990, Van Damme proved he could do more than just fight on screen. In Lionheart, he played a soldier who deserts the French Foreign Legion and enters illegal fights to help his dead brother's family. It was a more emotional and dramatic role, showing a softer side of him while keeping the brutal, bare-knuckle fights his fans loved. Filming was tough. He suffered a dislocated shoulder and multiple injuries during the violent fight scenes. The film had different titles in different countries: AWOL in the UK and Wrong Bet in Australia, and it became a big international success, cementing Van Damme as a global action star. That same year, he starred in Death Warrant, playing a cop who goes undercover inside a prison. It was another hit, making over $46 million from a small $6 million budget. Van Damme personally changed many of the fight scenes to include his famous spinning kicks because he didn't want to look like an ordinary cop. The movie was partly filmed in the basement of the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles while Pretty Woman was being filmed upstairs. The climactic fight against the villain Sandman was shot in a massive power plant in Los Angeles, all in one intense day of filming. In 1991, Van Damme took on an even bigger challenge, playing twins in Double Impact. He had to act as two completely different personalities, one calm and charming, the other angry and aggressive. With no CGI available, the crew used clever split-screen effects and hired twin stand-ins to make the scenes realistic. The movie was one of the first times audiences truly saw that Van Damme could act as well as fight. By 1992, he became a major A-list star with Universal Soldier, where he starred alongside Dolph Lundgren. The movie was a worldwide hit, earning over $100 million. But behind the scenes, Van Damme's attitude was changing. He demanded expensive trailers, refused to come to set unless his wife, bodybuilder Gladys Portugues, was with him, and often delayed filming. Lundgren later said that Van Damme had become arrogant and difficult to work with. Their rivalry even led to a public confrontation at the Cannes Film Festival, where they almost fought on stage. Whether it was real or staged, it showed how tense things had become between them. In 1993, Van Damme teamed up with legendary Hong Kong director John Woo for Hard Target. The movie was filmed in the Louisiana swamps, and Van Damme insisted on doing his own dangerous stunts. During one horse stunt, he nearly broke his leg. The studio was so nervous about Woo's directing style that they sent another famous director, Sam Raimi, to supervise production. Despite all the tension, Woo later praised Van Damme for his courage and professionalism. Then came Time Cop in 1994, his biggest hit ever. It made more than $100 million on a $28 million budget. He played a time-traveling police officer, mixing science fiction with martial arts. The famous scene where he does the splits to avoid electrocution became one of his most iconic moments. He also made sure to include scenes that showed off his physique, which he took great pride in. He earned $3 million for the role. Even though critics called the movie unrealistic, fans around the world loved it. However, his next movie, Street Fighter, marked the beginning of his downfall. By that time, Van Damme was using around $10,000 worth of cocaine every week. He would disappear for hours, show up high, and sometimes miss entire shooting days. The studio had to hire someone to track him down and bring him to set. He also had an affair with singer Kylie Minogue while filming in Thailand, even though his wife, Darcy Lapierre, was pregnant at the time. Years later, he admitted to the affair in an interview, calling it a beautiful experience, but the revelation hurt his family deeply. In 1995, Van Damme received his highest paycheck ever, $5 million, for sudden death. The movie was about a fire marshal trying to stop terrorists during an ice hockey game. It had huge stunts, including a fight scene with a team mascot and a dramatic zipline from the roof of a stadium. The movie made $64 million worldwide, but his reputation was beginning to suffer because of his erratic behavior. In 1996, he directed his first film, The Quest, about fighters from around the world competing in Tibet for a golden dragon. But his addiction made production chaotic. He often missed filming days, and the studio had to assign someone to keep him under control, which only made things worse. Despite the problems, the film did fairly well overseas. That same year, he starred in Maximum Risk, playing twin brothers again. The action scenes were dangerous and realistic, with one stunt double badly injured in a crash. Critics said the movie was more about stunts than story, but it still showed Van Damme's dedication to doing physical roles. By 1997, he starred in Double Team with basketball star Dennis Rodman. His unpredictable mood swings became a serious problem. He was unknowingly suffering from bipolar disorder, and his emotions could shift from joy to anger within hours. Director Sui Hark struggled to manage him on set. Ironically, Rodman, who was new to acting, turned out to be more stable. In 1998, he appeared in Knock Off, a bizarre film about exploding jeans and counterfeit products. During filming, his condition worsened, and he was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder. His behavior became erratic, singing, improvising, and losing focus on set. Around the same time, Legionnaire, a film inspired by his dream of joining the French Foreign Legion, was released but failed badly. The same year, his image took another hit when he was knocked unconscious by former Hell's Angel Chuck Zito in a Manhattan strip club after making an insulting remark. The beating was public and humiliating. His career had already started to crumble. In 1995, Universal Pictures offered him a $36 million deal for a trilogy, $12 million per movie, but Van Damme turned it down, demanding $20 million per film, the same as Jim Carrey. The studio laughed and ended the conversation. That decision effectively destroyed his A-list status overnight. By the late 1990s, his addiction was out of control. He was spending over $500,000 a year on cocaine, missing filming days, and becoming impossible to work with. Hollywood stopped calling. After a suicide attempt in 1998, he was diagnosed with rapid cycling bipolar disorder, which explained his years of wild behavior, ego, and depression. He finally sought treatment and started medication. In 2007, he opened up about his struggles on The Oprah Winfrey Show. Despite his mental health challenges, his reputation kept declining. His marriage to Darcy Lapierre ended in 1999, partly due to his affair with Kylie Minogue. That same year, Universal Soldier: The Return flopped horribly, earning just $10 million on a $45 million budget. It was clear his days as a leading Hollywood action star were over. In 2008, Van Damme made a surprise comeback with JCVD, a film where he played himself a washed-up actor facing financial and personal collapse. The movie included a deeply emotional 8-minute monologue where he confessed his regrets, drug abuse, and broken marriages. Critics praised his honesty, but audiences were uncomfortable seeing their childhood hero in pain. In 2012, he made a brief return to mainstream action as the villain in The Expendables 2, earning respect for his performance. However, when he tried to join the Fast and Furious franchise, Vin Diesel personally blocked him. Van Damme later said that Hollywood no longer had space for older action heroes, describing himself as a manual transmission in a world of Teslas. Then came another dark chapter. In 2025, Romanian authorities accused him of involvement in a human trafficking case linked to a crime boss. His agent denied everything, but the allegations hurt his public image again. Still, Van Damme didn't disappear completely. He voiced Master Krak in Kung Fu Panda 2 and later voiced Jean-Claude in Minions: The Rise of Gru. He continued to stay active through voice roles and small projects. Martial arts remained his therapy. He trained daily to control his bipolar disorder and even launched a YouTube fitness program called Train with Van Damme in 2020 to help people stay fit at home. In 2016, he starred in Jean-Claude Van Johnson, a funny self-parody where he played a washed-up actor who secretly worked as a spy. It only lasted one season, but it showed he could laugh at his own past. In 2024, he returned again with Darkness of Man, a dark thriller where he played a retired Interpol agent protecting a child. His real-life son appeared alongside him, making the role deeply emotional. The film reminded fans of the serious actor he once was. Through all the fame, addiction, heartbreak, and recovery, Jean-Claude Van Damme's life became more dramatic than any of his movies. From being one of the most powerful martial artists in cinema to a man broken by his own demons, his journey is a lesson in both the fragility of fame and the strength of human recovery. Even after losing everything, he kept fighting, not in a movie, but in real life, to find peace, redemption, and purpose again.